Good evening, everyone. We're going to start this meeting at 6:01 p.m. on Wednesday, July 26th. I'd like to call to order the special meeting of the Laverne City Council on Wednesday, July 26th, and welcome all of you here tonight for the council meeting in which we conduct the business of the city. And I want to remind everyone that per the city's rules of decorum, all speakers, members of the audience, and council members are to conduct themselves with decorum and to not engage in conduct that interrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting. Tonight's meeting is to conduct applicant presentations for two open positions on the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is a very critical advisory and decision-making body within the city, and their role to oversee and ensure high-quality development and to carry out the goals, policies, and objectives of the city set forth by the City Council and our general plan and housing element. Roll call, Mr. Domer. Oh, wait, I got to do public relations first. Hold on. Excuse me, I skipped that little line there. If we Councilmember Lau will be, or actually Mayor Pro Tem Lau will be leading us.
Thank you. Councilmember Kashipagita.
Here, sir.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Crosby.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lau. Mayor Hepburn.
Present. Tonight, as previously stated, we will be meeting and hearing from members of our community who have applied for the Planning Commission. We'll hear from all applicants, and then we will have a public comment section. The City Council will not make a decision tonight, but we'll have an agenda item on August 7th meeting, a City Council meeting in which they select the two members. The applicants tonight were provided 3 questions to answer during their presentation. Those statements and questions were: please tell us about yourself, your experiences as a resident and the community activities here in Laverne, and highlight any areas of your background that you think would help us select you as a planning commissioner. Number 2, the city is currently updating the general plan. Why is the general plan important to Laverne? What are some of the important goals that would expect to see in the document? And number 3, economic development and quality of life are 2 commonly referenced goals here in Laverne. Please tell us what these goals mean to you and if they see any conflict between the two. And I want to thank all of you for being here as being a previous planning commissioner, as also Mayor Pro Tem Lau. It's an important role, and not gonna lie, sometimes it does lead to the council. So it's just part of the deal. I'll just throw it out there. But a lot of members that were on the planning commission did come to council and ran elections. So it's the basic start of our community and how our city functions, our departments function, how we communicate with our departments. So it's very, very, very important. So I will call all applicants out in alphabetical order. If someone is not here, we will move on to the next person. You have a maximum of 5 minutes. And the first person up is Danita Beauchamp. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Danita Beauchamp, and next month will mark 35 years of residency in the city of Laverne, which is almost 3/4 of my life. My biological father was a general contractor, and I learned basic construction and home remodeling. And as a teenager in high school, I assisted him on many jobs. I have basic woodworking machinery in my garage to create wood projects, which I enjoy doing in my spare time. Unfortunately, there isn't enough time for that. I have umpired Little League Baseball for 16 years for San Gabriel Valley Umpire Association. Our association works for many of the cities along the foothills. Until the pandemic, I was umpiring for the city of Laverne at Pelota Park, so I have probably umpired for your kids or grandkids at one point. Unfortunately, Laverne Little League Board chose to utilize services from another umpiring service. I am also certified as a USA softball umpire, working girls fast pitch and adult slow pitch softball games. Just to give you an idea of my level of commitment, I could be umpiring the best game. My strike zone is on. I'm hustling to position myself properly to make the calls, making the calls fairly. But academically speaking, 50% is a failing grade. As an umpire, even on your best day, you'll only ever be as good as 50% because only one team is the winner. And with that said, I still choose to umpire year after year, which is a testament to my level of dedication to the children and the sport of baseball. I also play women's soccer and I play as a goalie. I also play slow pitch softball. I play recreational league, and I also play on several women's senior 50+ tournament teams where we travel. The teams I play for are extremely competitive, and I play on the national circuit. One of my teams took second place in nationals in Florida last year. And this September, I will be participating in my 12th World Series for this year Women's ASANA, which stands for the Amateur Sports Alliance of North America. My professional career is in the aerospace industry, selling industrial cutting tools, accessories, and equipment. I work directly with the Department of Defense contractors, which requires security clearance. I know how to read a schematic of a tool and understand basic engineering language. I know how to utilize a micrometer and an indicator. And just to be clear, I'm referring to the measuring instrument, not the clicker for the umpires. I have been attending city council meetings for over 2.5 years, as many of you know. I have only missed one physically, but participated through Zoom. I have also attended countless LA County Board of Supervisor meetings, Probation Oversight Commission meetings, and other meetings pertaining to or potentially affecting our city. This is something I take pride in. As busy as I am, I make it a priority to attend these meetings and be informed as much as possible about the issues that affect our city. As you know, I am unafraid to share my opinion, but it also speaks to the level of my tenacity and conviction. These life and professional experiences have taught me the necessity for diplomacy, fairness, and taking the time to listen, as well as the camaraderie and compromise, but most importantly, confidentiality. I believe in having a think out of the box mentality to provide alternative yet viable options for economic growth and change for our city. I believe it is an honor to be able to serve on the city's planning commission. I would do my best to help implement the vision and guiding principles while encompassing the long-term goals, aspirations, and desired future state of the city of Laverne. Answer to question 2, section 1. By revising and updating the general plan, sufficient community services and infrastructure are ensured to accommodate growth. It will also offer a basis for a robust and varied economy that safeguards employment-generating businesses. Achieving these revisions and updates should include community engagement, data collection and analysis, not only by the city, but also an independent third party. They will directly affect housing, transportation, environmental conservation, and economic development by outlining strategies for implementing the proposed changes, which would include budgeting, resource allocation, and timeline planning. Lastly, monitoring and regularly evaluating the effectiveness of the updates made to the general plan will help meet the demands and the requirements of both the County of Los Angeles and the state of California. Question 2, section 2. The changes will be in the ordinances, municipal codes, zoning, and the specific neighborhood plans that will help to facilitate the welcomed and necessary changes to accommodate the different categories that I have previously mentioned. The physical appearance will change significantly when the gold line is completed and the Aero Corridor housing begins construction, as well as the additional housing units necessary for the city to meet the required RHNA numbers for the state of California. Answer to question 3. Economic development, as you know, is the efforts made by the city to improve its economic success and prosperity to help the city increase its tax revenues to sustain services and infrastructure. The quality of life pertains to the overall well-being and satisfaction of the residents of Laverne. Both present opportunities for successful growth in their individual categories. From my perspective, they appear to conflict with each other. However, meeting and maintaining the essential balance is what the city of Laverne must continuously do to preserve its quaint, small-town atmosphere while offering some of the conveniences that are found in larger cities. By doing so, this will align with the city's mission statement. I thank you for your time and consideration for the Planning Commission seat. Thank you.
I heard everything you said, I promise. Sorry, little cough here. It's not COVID, I promise. I got one. Thank you. You're gonna put a tent over me. Thank you, Ms. Beauchamp. Our next, excuse me. Our next person up is Robert Carter. Please take the podium.
Good evening, Good evening, City Council, City Manager, Eric Scheer. Appreciate this opportunity to present myself in regards to the application for the Planning Commission. I've been a resident of Laverne for 44 years, married for 49 years. I have 2 kids and 4 grandchildren, and obviously moved here because of the excellent school and the neighborly environment that's here in Laverne and has been, and I hope to see it continue. Some of the elements that I wanted to bring up are education. I graduated summa cum laude from the University of Laverne with a degree in business administration in June of 2018. So only 5 years ago. I went with young men and women who were between 18 and 35. So I was a senior, but I enjoyed that and getting to see a difference of how they perceived it. I also graduated with honors with various science degrees from Mount San Antonio College in accounting, business management, small business management, liberal arts, and air conditioning. I served as a trustee on the AC and Refrigeration Union Trust Funds, which were rated at approximately $300 million and included serving on retirement, benefits, investment, and other committees. I was a secretary of the Air Conditioning Refrigeration Contractors Association, which is a contractors group for Southern California contractors. I also am a master trustee of the International Federation of Employee Benefit Plans, which takes a minimum of 5 years of service as a trustee and additional benefit education classes. My community activities, I'm a member of the Retired Senior Volunteer Patrol, RSVPs, which as you probably already know is Laverne's Police Department's Volunteer Association, obviously doing work from patrol to working on the 4th of July parade and any other tasks that they've assigned. I'm also the Architectural Control Committee chairperson for the Laverne Live Oaks HOA. It's a community of 358 homes up in North Laverne that reviews exterior improvements, aesthetics, landscaping, etc. The HOA also owns our own streets, and I've been in charge of replacing those streets, and we're going into phase 4. The street replacements have been between $500 and $1 million each phase. I'm also a member of the Laverne Historical Society, a member of the Laverne Tennis Association, which has been going on now for 42 years. My wife and I started that. Mount San Antonio College Oversight Committee, I served on that, which was a $750 million bond. And we have built quite a few buildings, as well as increasing the access to the various buildings, including our Golden Highway down the center of Mount Sac, where we'll have ADA compliance so everybody can get into the buildings that, as you know, Mount Sac's built on hills, makes it difficult. I served on the Bonita Unified School District Oversight Committee. I served on the Laverne Parks and Human Services Commission as chair and co-chair. So many of the parks that we celebrate now are a matter of that commission's work as well as the city council's work at that time. I also served on the Laverne Fiscal Review Committee. I was a Bonita High School softball coach and varsity and JV teams, Little League board member, coach, ASO coach, boosters, and various other youth sports. Work experience, I'm the owner and president, or was, excuse me, I'm retired now, of a multi-million-dollar mechanical contractor business. This included look-ahead planning, financial goals, employee training and retention. Operating a successful business requires long-range strategic planning and tactical planning for the operational side. I perform design work, blueprint reading, estimating, construction activities, crew supervising, office operations, financial elements for the company. I'm a licensed general contractor with a B license. I also have my C7 license, which is low voltage, C4 license, which is boiler and hot water systems, and a C20 license, which is HVAC. I did all the estimates, preparing, and the variety of things that are required to operate a medium-sized construction firm. I also was able to develop the ability to work directly with owners, government agencies, general contractors, private industries for commercial, institutional, and educational facilities. This required the ability to explain various concepts to non-technical personnel. The general plan, which is one of the questions. The Laverne General Plan is currently being updated and is an important roadmap to direct the city's long-range goals by providing current direction for future results. Those of you who served on the Planning Commission know that the long-term planning has to be something that can be adjusted and can be made to work for the community as things change. I seriously doubt any of you serving on the Planning Commission would have envisioned EVs becoming such a popular notion. So one of the things that I think should be an important goal is developing that infrastructure for electrical. It's one of the things we're lacking. Edison is working on it, but it needs to be developed, and it needs to be a smart grid system from the standpoint of how do you charge 10 EVs in a system that was designed never to charge more than 1 or 2. So that's one of the goals, to see that. Maintaining residential zones as residential areas is one of the goals. The state is implementing a variety of laws and that need to be complied with while maintaining our quality of life and local laws to accommodate them. Active transportation goal, we need to focus on safe alternatives to vehicle transportation, including biking, walking, ride sharing, etc. The Gold Line, or A Line as it's now known, is going to have a significant impact on Laverne and especially our downtown area. The general plan / specific plan will need to address these needs and the needs of our citizens prior to the activation of this line in 2025. Unhoused personnel is another goal that should be addressed in our community. We are seeing more of it come into our community as an RSVP, and as police department will also let the council know this is an ongoing issue. In 2028, Olympics will probably send even more our way. As you know, we already work with Tri-City Mental Health. We have counselors. We do a good job for the people, for the unhoused personnel, but we do need to do more. Land use provisions for any existing open land or potential development areas such as unincorporated areas that are in the city's sphere of influence, mobile home park, Sierra Laverne Golf Course, airport, and any area that may be subject to development. Economic development quality of goals. I see these issues as one of mitigating the negative impact to preserve the quality of life our citizens enjoy, and moved here to participate in the environment we have created through thoughtful planning. The prior plans have allowed us to accomplish many of the things that we're capable of doing. If the impacts cannot be mitigated, how can they be minimized, if nothing else? And if the choice is a degradation of the quality of life or moving forward with a project causing a far-reaching negative impact, I believe the proper approach is to maintain the quality of life for our citizens. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to present myself. And because I went over a whole lot of information, I decided it might be appropriate to at least do a complete recommendation on the job.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Thank you. Next up is Kenny Chang. Good evening. You guys, you have 5 minutes.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Hepburn, City Council, and City Management. I'm Kenny Chang, current resident of Laverne, and MBA graduate, small business owner, as well as proud Laverne CERT graduate as well. And also currently serve as a second term of a committee member of Laverne LV Oversight Committee that was created last year, actually 3 years ago. And I bring the experience of 20 years of finance and real estate. Throughout my career, I've seen, I've done a lot of banking, finance, and of course with that comes as well real estate. Therefore, applying for the job of the position, actually for the planning position, will allow me to offer my balanced perspective. I believe any position will requires a balance on any decision that you make, rather than choosing one side or the other. And that's what made me fortunate to decide to move my family to Laverne and raise my family, so that the quality of life that Laverne has provided. And with that quality of life, which is important, that when we revisit the general plans, it's important that we want to keep that balance as well, because this also has needs as our population, like any other city, is growing, right? And we don't want to overbuild, but we don't want to stop building, because there are more needs as people is coming in and moving to Laverne. And we want to continue to provide that quality of life and quality of service that the city has been providing for all this time this year. We don't have to be like Los Angeles, that is overbuilt with their problems, but make it unique to Laverne. And that's the way I have been servicing as a committee member for oversight, working with city staff, working with other committee members, to really see the balance of that budget, what to spend, what is needed, right? And listen to the community members as well, to let them voice their thoughts, because that's how I learn as well. I believe, I should never stop learning. And it's important to hear what the residents is wanting and continue to want it, because that's how we are building the city for, right? For long term, right? So then that's what also the plans, the general plans is all about, right? Give us an idea how we wanted to build the city with, of course, in mind that the city will continue to grow, right, for generations. I have 3 kids, all go to the local schools, and they're gonna be here for a while, right? I'll be here for a while, right? And again, my friends, my families who moving as well to Laverne, they're gonna probably be here for a long time as well. So I think that general plan will keep us really attentive, and constant review, of course, is necessary. Just like we review our budget on an annual basis, review in the oversight committee will review every few often the LV measure budget as well, just to make sure that we continue to improving, right? And it's not just just to review it and then and not do anything about it, right? The purpose of reviewing it is really to take action. Once we find the issue, then have a plan with it, and then have a balanced decision among the planning commissions. And one good example that we have done in our oversight committee that we're very proud of is really most of the decision is unanimous, because we try to discuss among the members what is the best for the city, right? And then we exchange idea with the city staff as well. And we ask the right questions that most of the residents will be concerned about. And I expect to continue that mentality as well, to be able to serve and continue to serve and to give back to the city that have provided me this quality of life, and my kids. So, and I'm humbled to be here, presence of all of you and all the qualified applicants, and to consider for the position. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chang.
Yeah.
We're on Zoom for Nikki. Is she dropped off, or you got her? Next up is Nikki Dinkman. She's on Zoom.
Hi, good evening. Can everyone hear me? Let me just put my video. Hi. Can everyone hear me over there?
Barely.
Barely. Okay, I have my volume turned up.
Not at all.
Nikki, we're having trouble hearing you.
Okay, is that better?
A little bit, as close as you can, please.
Okay, I've practically got the computer at my face. Is that better?
Yeah, just make sure you're speaking loud and clear. We can hear you a little bit now.
Okay, or would you, it might be easier if I dial in from my phone. Maybe we can skip and I can come back. I might have better voice on the phone than on the computer.
If that's okay with everyone, we'll let her dial in, but we'll go to the next person. Yeah. So next person up will be Aaron Duffy. Have you got that baby? How old?
Yes, he's
how old?
8 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's too much. We love babies. Anyway.
thanks.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's a
Welcome.
cutie. Thank you. So my name is Erin Duffy, and my husband and I are raising our 3 children. That's our youngest over there here in Laverne. We bought a home here 2 years ago, and while we're new to town, this is our chosen home. We really looked around and thought about where we wanted to raise our kids, and we chose Laverne. I care a lot about the future of this town. And I applied for a position on the Planning Commission because I think I have skills that could be useful and a lot of passion. I have a PhD in policy analysis, and my 9-to-5 job is as a researcher at the University of Southern California's Price School of Public Policy. I'm very analytical. I'm very comfortable with uncertainty, asking questions, getting into the weeds of policy issues. I understand the challenges of making decisions and optimizing under regulatory constraints. And I recognize that we're in a constantly shifting regulatory environment. The constraints we have today are very different from the ones we had a year ago or even prior. I also can really appreciate that the charm and beauty and quality of life that we have in Laverne here did not happen spontaneously or as an accident, right? This is the result of years of strategic planning and strong leadership. Our last general plan served us really well for over 2 decades. And I think the plan that's under development now will continue to serve our community. This will be a place where people want to live, work, and study and play in 20 years. In looking over the work that we're doing with the help of our contractors, I'm really confident that we have work underway that's going to meet California's regulatory requirements. We have a housing element already that's set and meets RENA requirements. And I think our specific plans really set us up well for a lot of growth. And I'm really optimistic about the future of our town. When it comes to our economic development, and weighing that against quality of life, I think there's a lot of synergy actually between our economic development, particularly with all of the guardrails that we have in our specific plans and in the quality of life that we enjoy now. This is a place with a lot of recreational spaces, small businesses where I really enjoy shopping and dining, and just a beautiful area where you have ongoing construction now, right? Making the easements and walkways in Old Town more beautiful. And I see more and more projects of that underway when I look at the plans that we have in place. There are specific types of economic development that I'm particularly optimistic about. And those are ones that are bringing in jobs with safe and good working conditions and ones with decent pay, and particularly service industry jobs that are consumer facing. So more shops, more restaurants, more opportunities for leisure, recreation, and learning. I think that's what the residents of Laverne want. And I do think that the plans we have in place are structured well to facilitate that type of growth. When I look around at neighboring cities, there are types of economic development and trends that I see that do trouble me and that I think draw away from our quality of life, particularly when I look east at the development of large warehouses and so infrastructure around the shipping industry. I recognize the necessity of that type of economic development. And I think that those cities are making really strategic plans using, leveraging their locations near key freeways. I don't see that type of economic development being a part of what we envision for Laverne. So that's just an example of me laying out some of my values and viewpoints as a resident in terms of what type of economic development excites me and where I see the need for more guardrails, looking at trends throughout the community. And with that, and in the interest of time, I'm happy to speak more and have conversations to get to know you better and share more about myself. But at this point, you have a large pool of highly qualified applicants. I want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak. And if this opportunity isn't right, I hope there's another way that I can serve the city. I would be really honored to. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Duffy. Is she called in yet? No, we're going to go. Cynthia Gabaldon. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Cynthia Gabaldon. I'm a registered civil engineer here in California. I have worked for the largest engineering company in the world, which actually AECOM ended up buying a long time ago. Well, it's a whole story, but AECOM is now URS. Worked for them, worked on projects, $100 million projects all the way down to simple projects all over the state and the US. And then I left about 10 years ago and I started my own company and never actually looked back. It's been fantastic. In 2020, I was the Inland Empire American Society of Civil Engineers Engineer of the Year for Public Works projects. And the reason why I got that award is because of my work in planning. The focus and the bigger picture and the nuances that are required now in order to deal with all the state regulations between engineering issues and planning regulations is just insane now. It's really not the way it was 30 years ago, that's for sure. And that's one of the biggest reasons for me wanting to participate in Planning Commission, because we're transitioning. We're not a growth city anymore. And that's just what happens with time. I'm born and raised out here in the foothill cities. So I've been out here for almost 60 years. I know what City of Laverne looked like prior to the freeway ever being built. My dad drove us down the 210 that day when they opened it from City of Duarte over here. I don't really remember it completely, but there's a photo of me in his GTO. That when you get to the point where things change and you go from a growth to the infill, it really means you have to do a different kind of general plan. It means that you have to really look at more nuances, and you need to really be thinking about more and more adjacent impacts. And that is one of the biggest issues I've seen with Redlands and with so many other cities that just were going boom, 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 boom. Paris, City, Santa Cena, all of those too, are going full out with growth, and then they hit that wall. We're kind of there here because we don't really have any more room for tract work or anything like that. So it's all infill, and you have to look at everything a little differently. Locally here at the city, I've run 2 different Boy Scout troops. I participate in a ton of meetings, as you all know. I'm constantly on the LA County meetings, mostly because of some planning issues. Not always with the city, but other things. Participate in 2 different COG groups, actually. And I'm also very vocal advocate for local control, because as doing what I do for all the engineering work I've done, including working on 12 different general plans, and I tried to count them all, but like 190 different types of specific plans, we are going to hit a wall. Infrastructure is not going to keep up. Traffic definitely is not going to keep up, especially with the way the state changed the laws. Density affects people. It affects us, and it really does affect the quality of life. Transitioning into what the general plan goals are. General plans are the overall umbrella document, as you all know. And the information out of that is going to be detailing out what our infills are going to be, what type of redevelopment projects we're going to be looking at, which is really what we're going to be looking at going forward, because all of the property here, there's some true vacant, but all of it was something, and now it's being redeveloped. The general plan has to articulate that balance. Like I said, where there's density or traffic or the infrastructure issues, that guiding document is very important in leading us down the path for the next 15 to 20 years. And the key element that a lot of people don't realize is that this flips automatically into the zoning plan. And the zoning plan is where we see everything actually hit the road. That's where we see how our neighborhoods are going to get restructured, if they are, and what options are going to be coming forward long after maybe most of you are here. I mean, 15 years, 20 years down the road is when some of these other projects might come in. The feds did raise the interest rate again today. It's going to be very interesting to see how things go right now. When it comes down to the general plan, though, I have one ask. We need more trees. Trees mean the world to everything, and we notice it definitely when we're doing redevelopment work, is that when we add trees, we have cooling effect, and cooling effect means a lot on a whole lot of issues, but that's a subject for another day. When it comes down to the economic development and the quality of life, I cannot talk about the transparency for the residents. That is, and that's actually why I won that award. I go into so many cities, and I'm hired by so many other people to translate from engineer to planner, or from planner to engineer, because we do use 2 different languages. And we have a really bad habit. California's bad at it. Engineers are bad at it. Most of us are bad at it, of using our own words, our own terms, living in our own bubble. And how do you get somebody who doesn't really understand what all this means to understand what that actual specific plan is going to do to their neighborhood? How the general plan is really going to affect that neighborhood or the whole city? How density of 2,200 new residents is down on Arrow, how that's really going to affect the rest of the city. So that's where I see somebody else uses the word synergy, but that's where the quality of life and the economic development aspects really pull together. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gabaldon. Next up, are we ready? Pierre? We're gonna keep moving on until we figure that out. Next up is going to be Jeffrey Grund. Welcome. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Mayor, council members, city officials. As you said, my name is Jeff Grund. A little bit about myself. I've been a teacher for 20 years locally. I've been an ASO coach, somebody said. I've been a Little League coach. I'm currently on the board. A high school coach. I've been pretty involved. Haven't heard it yet. I'm taking a different approach maybe coming in here. I come from education, and I think that was a big issue for me wanting to be on the planning commission. Was my stepdad was a contractor, my dad was an engineer and a teacher, but I come here as somebody, I think last candidate said, in 15, 20 years, the youth are going to be the adults, they're going to be the ones sitting in the room, they're going to be the one participating, hopefully in the planning commission, hopefully be running for office, the youth getting involved. So I think that's one of the issues for question one. Why did I want to get involved, and how could my background help me? I like being involved with kids. I like being involved in the city. And I wanted that to translate hopefully over to the planning commission. And as a couple candidates said, if you guys don't pick me, I understand there's some great, wonderful humans sitting on the other side over here. And I hope I can fit in some way somewhere else. But I've been involved in the 4th of July committee most recently. Like I said, I'm currently on the Little League board. I had wonderful experiences marrying those two, hopefully back together a little better. But getting into the general plan, I think the general plan has some wonderful highlights in it. I know we've gotten SB compliant a little better, SB 9. So I think that's awesome. Number two, as somebody said, working back down towards Arrow Highway, we're going to have a lot of traffic. We're going to have a lot more. And I think that's wonderful. Somebody used the word synergy. I think synergy is amazing. Kind of marrying 2 and 3, question 3. We can have responsible housing, where we're increasing, where we're keeping in property taxes coming in, but not being super flooded with houses. So where Laverne can keep that old charm feel, where we have continued economic growth. And I agree with last candidate in the sense that, maybe we can max out after a while. We can't continually build and build, but we can responsibly build to keep Laverne growing with a sustained economic growth. But we can also not sacrifice some of what has made Laverne wonderful. I'm looking at the emblem of the city behind you, Mr. Mayor. And you don't want to sacrifice some of what makes Laverne so wonderful to be a resident. My wife's been here her whole life. I'm a Glendora guy. I went to college in Laverne, and I decided to make Laverne my home and raise my children who are at Oak Mesa and Ramona coming up. So I think it's amazing. I truly think that we do need to preserve, if I get chosen, I think we need to really preserve our green space. We need to preserve our parks. We need to preserve our Little League fields. We need to preserve our trees, as somebody said. I think that is an essential component. I'm a firm advocate on the same token, though, of growing small businesses. I think we've done a wonderful job. The people who were in during the pandemic did a wonderful job of keeping Laverne businesses not totally dying out and keeping them thriving and going. And we're seeing it, like somebody said, the storefront businesses, and we're not to use we're selling out to the big giants like our neighbors to the east of these big, massive warehouses, but we're seeing these wonderful businesses that are keeping going, keeping open, employing people. And I think you can't ignore that, how wonderful the council and you guys have done. So I think I don't have anything else to say. So if you guys have any more questions, I'm free to be contacted. But like I said, you have wonderful candidates. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Grund. Appreciate it. Yeah. LD Johnson, come on up. Good evening.
Not a stranger to this dais, that's for sure. I moved to town, my parents moved to town rather, when I was 10 years old. Grew up here, went through the Bonita district. Kind of got dissuaded with the small town atmosphere. I wanted to see more in life. I moved away for 10 years, moved to a big city, started a family, realized that Laverne was a great place to raise a family. So we returned. Eventually, I came to work at the city. Spent 33 plus years working with the city and public works. Really, really enjoyed it. Due to health reasons, I had to terminate my career. And then I found out that I'm really not finished with the city. I spent a term on the Active Transportation Committee. Just recently, this month, gave up my chair there. Then I found out that there was a planning commission vacancy, and I went for it. Like I said, I'm not finished with the city yet. I may be old in age, but I still have a lot of energy. So with that, during my 33 years with the city, I spent most of that involved with the Development Review Committee, wherein we initially did the review of projects and developments coming into town, made our recommendations to the rest of staff and planning commission and city council. So I'm very, very familiar with the process there of the initial step of a project or development in town through to the completion and fruition of it. As far as my activities with the town, I established Cool Cruise 28 years ago now, I believe. The intent of Cool Cruise was to bring in some economic excitement downtown. Downtown, as most of you know, used to be pretty dead. I think Cool Cruise was a shot in the arm there. It started a lot of other activities that have gone into town. Fortunately, somebody else is still continuing with Cool Cruise and other events similar to that in town. And we thought, well, initially Cool Cruise was going to be a shot in the arm, like I said, for the downtown. Many of the participants that came to town, not knowing what Laverne was, I know of 4 that have bought in town, you know, after coming and seeing the quaint community that we had. They loved it, came into town. A couple of businesses come into town, as well as the continued repetitive business that people come into town for. They love the area. So I currently serve on the Casitas Mobile Home Park Homeowners Association as the president there. I am additionally currently serving on the Fairplex CTEC AXC committee since its inception almost 18 years ago. We provide career guidance for disadvantaged youth. We have graduated. Our graduation rate is almost 99% of students that come in. All of our students come in on a full scholarship. None of the students pay a dollar for their education. They're all given careers in the automotive industry. So I possess a general knowledge through my career here. I've learned the California Civil Code, the general plans. I've gone through 2 or 3 general plans. I've gone through that process. The Laverne housing element, Old Town specific plan, all the other specific plans that took place in my career here. So I'm very, very familiar with the processes and how they evolve. So the general plan, even though it may seem like it's the cornerstone and set in concrete, it has to be fluid and responsive to the moment. I'm not saying you change it repetitively, but it has to be available to forethought and what the true need is at that moment of somebody coming in. So I think somebody before me used the term roadmap that establishes a communication and a document that everyone in a town can reference to, see where we're going to hopefully be in the next decade or 2 here, and gives the community, developers, and everyone else a guidance as to what their future is going to be here in town. The new general plan has to be contemporary. What worked 20 years ago, the city and the region is completely different than it was 20 years ago. So we have to have a different look at it, yet retain the small town treasure atmosphere that we have here. So we can't forego what the town is based on, but yet we still have to be fluid and look at what new can come in and give us a
a full benefit into the future. We've got to consider, community design, community services. Laverne is fortunate, I believe very fortunate in having all of its in-house services, police, fire, public works. We don't have to go into some other bureaucracy to get things done. Usually it's just a phone call away and you get response, you get action. So not many communities have retained that. And that is a treasure in itself. The general plan has to look at family-owned environment, family-oriented environment. Sense of community, high-quality housing options. Laverne has everything from less than desirable housing on up to estates and mansions. We're very fortunate to have that cross variety, which attracts more quality people in. The better the housing, the better the city takes care of the community, takes care of the roads, takes care of the parks. That attracts better residents to come into town. That in return attracts businesses. If you come in with a viable, supportive, fortunate community, the businesses will come in and try and support a success for themselves, which is then based on economic development, stabilization in the community. One thing the city has always had, and I've always been impressed with, is fiscal sustainability and fiscal responsibility. City councils, I'm not blowing smoke up your sails or anything else. City council has always been very innovative in how fiscal situations are handled. Okay. And I hope that act continues over the next several generations, keeping this beautiful community.
If we could wrap up, LD. I
Yeah,
appreciate
no
it.
problem. Economic development, I touched on that. Quality of life, it's all hand in hand. If you get economic development, you get quality of life. You get quality of life, you get great educational opportunities, recreational opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Jared. We are going to move on to Jared Palmer. Welcome again.
So my name is Jared Palmer. This is my 20th year as a resident here in Laverne. And being that I've been here pretty much.
Jared, could you be a little closer to the mic? People in the back can't hear you if you don't mind.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Is that better?
You go ahead and try.
Is that better? Right there?
That's better. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I've grown up here my whole life pretty much, as far as I can remember anyway. And I've always thought of Laverne as a safe place that I've enjoyed a childhood in, and especially into my adulthood. It's a community that has many attributes that are hard to come by in this area, I think, and something that should be treasured. I learned to swim here at Las Flores Park, and most recently was appointed to the Active Transportation Committee. I find that the city has a lot to offer, and I'd love to be a part of it. As a planning student at Cal Poly Pomona, I know that there are many issues that the city must face on a daily basis. And with the general plan being updated, I believe that I have a perspective of an age demographic that's hard to come by in city government. I know that the city's general plan has many important aspects to it, but I believe that there are some important goals that should be added to it, namely affordable housing. People of my age demographic, some of us really love this city and we would love to stay here, but housing is not at an affordable rate that we can afford to live here. I had a friend that wanted to move here with her boyfriend so they could start a family eventually, but they've had to move to West Covina where the housing is much more affordable for them. Some commonly referenced goals here are economic development and quality of life. And I believe that these are very important for our city. Economic development means that the city can prosper, and quality of life means the people here will also prosper. They're goals that are intertwined and should be retained, as our city is one that is a true gem of the foothills. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's try it. That's what I would do.
Nikki, can you hear us?
Hello? Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
A little better.
Speak loudly.
Is that better? Do you need me to speak a little louder?
Yes, if you speak loudly, we can hear you, Nikki.
Okay, so I've got the phone right up to my ear, so hopefully this is pretty good. Okay, so good evening, everybody. My name's Nikki Beekman. I've been a resident of Laverne since 2011. Prior to that, I lived in London, Irvine, the Bay Area, and West LA. I currently have 3 children, and we purposely chose Laverne to move back to raise our kids. I graduated from San Dimas High School, and my husband grew up in Glendora. And we chose Laverne because of the small town feel. I have 2 13-year-olds currently at Ramona Middle School and a 17-year-old that just graduated Benita and is off to college in the fall. I've lived in master plan communities such as Irvine that serves thousands of individuals. And we lived in a tiny little city called Sausalito in the Bay Area, a very quaint town that served a much smaller population. I see Laverne somewhere in the middle of these two. My background's in finance, real estate, and law with an emphasis on technology and design. I've worked in commercial real estate and held several senior positions with tech companies in the past 25 years. I truly enjoy the design, build, fit, plan phase of a project. And in my career, I've led numerous full-scale projects that span years and require input from various constituents and stakeholders. My goal has been to create projects with a significant revenue stream whilst never sacrificing quality or customer satisfaction. Bridging the gap between technology growth and quality of life is a key goal of mine. I've been involved in our community in many ways, beginning with PTA organizations, starting with elementary school, middle school, high school, and the PTA board. I've been a Girl Scout leader, and I currently serve as a board member of our Laverne San Dimas Education Foundation, and I serve as vice president for Marshall Canyon Estates HOA, as well as head of their architect committee and participated in their landscape committee. Just to give you an idea of why I want to be involved in this, is I feel that planning commission requires input from a variety of people. You have your experienced planners with degrees in education. You also have community members, residents that raise children in the community. I also have elderly parents that live in the community. So my perspective is to give input from a parent, to see our growth from our children, and to also help the elderly that need to live in this community and thrive. Now, why is the general plan important to the city? Well, I believe without a vision and without a plan, you cannot plan. You need a plan to make a plan. The general plan sets the guidelines and the goals for the next 10 to 20 years. It should include input from residents, young and old, business owners, city planners, and economists to form a constitution to define our city. Without a general plan, a city can go haywire, catering to individual special interest groups. Residential zones, transportation goals, tech goals, economic goals, those are all considerations for our general plan. One of the most important things I believe that the general plan should have is flexibility. It should not be so strict so that we cannot accommodate changes in technology, growth such as the Gold Line, housing accommodations, catering to an elderly community, catering to new growth with schools and parks and infrastructure to support that. The general plan should allow for the growth and flexibility to accommodate those kinds of opportunities. So as far as our downtown area, it's filled with quaint small businesses sprinkled amongst individual single-family homes. For example, if we were to add a large apartment complex to that area, it would completely disrupt the atmosphere. It's really important when you're having a general plan to have a cohesive vision and to have one singular picture of how the community should look as a whole. So every new building that comes into the community, every new home that's built, every park that's created, landscape, falls within the single vision. We also have to be careful not to allow too much of one type of business, because what it does is create too much competition to undermine the businesses that we have. And I'll give an example of this without hoping to point fingers, but we have way too many gyms in the city of Laverne for as tiny as it is. And with the new addition of the Choose Gym, you're looking at businesses like Crunch, which hardly have any members currently. And we don't want to do that to a community. So it's really important to plan and allow for a certain limited number of any particular type of business. Economic development and quality of life. For me, economic development is important to the city function because we receive revenue and we create a destination spot by bringing in certain types of businesses. You know, we need to keep in mind, like I said, healthy competition and balancing that with a cohesive build design. Quality of life commonly refers to residential neighborhoods, parks, schools, senior and teen centers. I actually believe a city can achieve both as long as it values and takes feedback from all its constituents. Residents, business owners, seniors, teens, homeowners, etc. If you look at economic development as a cash flow and not an opportunity to also improve quality of life, then you will definitely fail, as they will clash with each other. The economic development of a small town must always take into account how it affects the quality of life of its tax-paying citizens and business owners, otherwise they will leave. I have seen many qualified candidates and heard from them this evening, and I hope I have an opportunity to serve on the Planning Commission. If not, I would be more than happy to participate in our city in any way that matches my qualifications. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you were able to hear everything this evening.
Next up, we have Eileen Robinette. Next up is going to be Henry Salcida. Good evening.
Afternoon. Thank you for having this opportunity for all of us to participate in this event. My name is Henry Salceda. I moved here in 2003, homeowner here. And before that, I was a homeowner in Pasadena and then Huntington Beach. I run two small businesses. One's a group employee benefits brokerage. My clients are usually financial institutions. Paramount Studios is one of my clients. A couple other clients where I serve as consultant and things like that. I also have a property management business that helps me understand how to improve and help properties out that I own with different partners. My experiences, I have worked on a board as a president for the Daniel William Cooper Foundation, which owns the title to the UCLA fraternity housing for Sigma Chi, which houses 150 guys, and the one at San Diego State and Cal State Northridge and USC. So in that function, I'm just the president, but I got that assignment to basically learn. And how I look at opportunities like this is I have no agenda. I have no real planning commission experience, but I do want to learn and I want to serve and I want to, dedicate some time here and make sure that I do the best I can to support all of you in your endeavors. I don't have any activism about me or any prior experience in it, so I don't have any things that I'd like to address on that. I do know that as far as, economic development and quality of life, they tend to be just opposed to each other. So I always try to find, commonalities in them and then rely on the folks sitting here to make the rules and me being of support to them and hoping that that will be something where I can drink from the water hose of knowledge and learn things as I go. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of planning commission experience, and I didn't come here thinking I would impress you with any of that. I just wanted to be of service and try and give it my best shot. And if I can, I'll serve you well and be of best service I can. I've been here since 2003. I have 3 kids. And I also served on a education board for 10 years. I'm sorry. And we went from $750,000 to $4 million in the time I was served. And I really enjoyed that. And that was another experience where I got to learn and I became very proficient at helping them raise money. So I'm hoping to do the same here and get a lot out of it and learn and enhance the experience while I'm here and serving the community and serving the city. Other than that, I'm just a happy-go-lucky guy. Not much to me. I'm simple. And so I just want to throw my hat in the ring and see how it worked. And thank you for letting me speak and get to learn how this works. I had no intention to try to get on the board, by the way, or sit on the city attention. So I'm just here to kind of enjoy the experience and the journey. And I thank you for all you do and appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Sussy.
Mhm.
Thank you. Rob Thompson. Oh, that's the one you crossed off. I'm sorry. Is Trina Thorwald? Not here. She's not on Zoom. Well. Council, any comments or questions or anything? On it? Public comment. Wait a minute. What we got here? Yeah, that was just saying for you guys, and then we'll go to public comment. Yeah. No comments or anything? Well, thank you all very much. I really appreciate you coming. This is not easy to do, to stand up at the podium. After a while, you do get kind of used to it, but never really used to it. But we really appreciate the fact that you're even entertaining the idea to do this, because it is a commitment, as any of the committees that you belong to are a commitment of time. Sometimes you don't realize how much time you have to put into it, but and then you go to other levels of commitment, being city council and things like that. But it is much appreciated. It takes a lot of time, and also the love for your community, which is stated by most of you. So, which is really, really important. We do love this community and we want to keep it like it is, but we also want to move with the times. So, yes, sir, Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, just to reiterate, the goal here is to hear the applicants, and then you are taking notes, and then there's a forced ranking. The goal is to bring back an item on the regular session of the regular meeting on August 7th to make a determination. And some of the questions that we'd have for you now is whether you want us to bring back everybody based on the forced ranking, or if you want to, the top 4 or 5 or 6. But you can hear from the public on their comments, and
Let's
then
do public
after that,
comment, then we'll come back.
yeah, then
Okay.
provide that. So I just wanted to state that beforehand.
Thank you, Mr. Gomer. With that, we'll open up public comments. Anybody wish to speak on anything? Don't look at me like.
Incredible group of candidates.
With that, nothing on, no, we have no one there. With that, we'll go ahead and close public comment, and we'll bring it back up to the dais. I may have a comment on what Mr. Domer had explained regarding the rating and the numbers.
So by my count, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, sorry, 10 candidates. So I would say looking at forced rankings, if we could narrow it to maybe the top 5. I don't know if we want to go less than that, but have those people return on the 7th for the final decision for the 2 positions that are open.
Go ahead, council. You're free to open. Mr. Crosby, you want to push that button?
I'm thinking.
Okay, don't push it till you're done.
No, I just, you know, I have been a coach of many teams and have done cuts and things like that, where I feel that it's 10 candidates. That is a good strong amount. And then we come back on the 7th and vote on who we want and go through that process. I don't see us needing to have a cut and then having, okay, these people are less than the other one. I think we have good, really good, strong candidates from everyone. I want to go back and go through my notes over a period of time as well. And to make my decision to go there rather than going, no, I don't want these people here off of what they say. I feel having more in depth and going through my paperwork for making cuts tonight. 10 candidates isn't a big enough number. If we had a quite large amount, then we could maybe do that, but not there.
So city manager, would we then invite all 10 back and it would just be the nominations and the vote then for the 2 out of the 10?
Correct. So we would just make the announcement that we're not going to cut any tonight, that the decision we've made on August 7th, those who want to be in attendance can be in attendance. And we would do a nomination process and go around until there are 2 applicants for the positions. And yes, you need a majority vote. So basically
Okay.
it would be, I nominate A, is there a second? There's a second, take a vote. If that 3 votes, then that person is one of the seats. If there's not 3 votes, that person is not one of the seat. Nominations will open up again. I nominate B. Is there a second? No. Nominate C. Is there a second? Yes. There are 3 positive votes. That person's on until 2 seats are filled. 2 seats.
Mr. Johnson, comments?
Just that there are only 2 seats to fill, so we'll just narrow them down and bring them back.
Councilmember Cash.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody that came here today. I appreciate you guys coming out today. It is hard. It is tough to be out in the center stage and sitting here and talking about your experiences, and within 5 minutes have to talk about your 20 or 30 or 40-year career, right? It's remarkable. Please don't take in the fact that if you weren't selected, that doesn't mean that we don't value your continued service for our city, right? It is what it is. And I really appreciate you coming out. Continue that same determination. I don't believe in passion. Passion, I would say, step below crazy. That's just me. All right. I thought that was funny. Okay. Sorry, I just came back from a very tough environment.
He's a little worn out.
A little worn out, but please continue that same drive, right? Continue wherever you can, participate in this community, whether it's physically or if it's online, however you can contribute to the betterment of this community, let's do it. If you don't get selected or do get selected, please continue to feel free to come forward with some great ideas. But what great ideas, what we can do, can make it work better, right? I understand that everybody has their own differences and what they think is, meet me halfway. That's what I say, meet me halfway. So that way we can make it better for all of us, right? I still live here. I'm going to still live in here till you bury me in the ground right next to my mom.
Or your wife says you're moving.
She won't move. I brought her from Los Angeles here and took her a while to realize what, the good part about Laverne is, right? And Laverne is going to stay good. It's going to stay good for as long as there's air in this lungs. So that's what I can do. So thank you again for coming out. God bless all you and your family. Please continue to make Laverne better as you can, any which way.
Again, with that, I want to thank everybody. Don't think that like our council have said that if you don't get selected for this, we're working on other committees as we move forward. We have new administration, new city management, and it's very important that we have input from our city, because that's the way we move forward, is by all the input. And as a council, we do listen to everyone. We try to listen to everyone. So we do appreciate it. Like I say, don't take it personally. It's just, at this point, we'll move forward with this as the council has stated. And then there will be other opportunities for all of you, but, so we will be back on our next, go ahead.
The one question for city manager, we had a few candidates that are on the active transportation committee. Can they have two committees, or would they have to give up the active transportation committee to be on the planning commission?
I will have to review our guidelines. It may not be clear, but I typically that you serve on one. It's hard to serve on two. So
I would check the guidelines, but I would say one, period. But that, make sure that it's, yeah. This concludes our special meeting. Adjourning the meeting tonight is at 7:11. And I want to thank you all again for coming. Our next scheduled city council meeting is Monday, August 7th at 5:30 p.m. That is a closed session, is it not, Mr. Domer? No, no?
no, we're going
Study
to have a
session
study
at
session
5:30, and then our
5:30.
regular meeting will be at 6:30 p.m. as normal. Thank you all for coming.